Welcome back to the channel. And when does the madness end? It seems like AFA slash CIB over on eBay, they have a unlimited supply of high grade AFA 80s and 85s and 90s for tri-logos. I don't know where they're getting them from, but it's been going on for months now. And there's really been no slowdown in the final sales prices. You would think that with everything they have listed over the last few months, that finally the market would buckle and say, we can't take it anymore. We cannot afford these high-grade tri-logos anymore. But that is not the case. The prices continue to be astronomical for a lot of their tri-logos. They also did have some 12 and 20 backs that we'll cover, along with a few other items that sold on eBay that were not related to AFA slash CIB. As always, thanks to my Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/actionfiguregrader is where you can go to sign up for as little as $1 a month. This is one that came up today as of the making of this video, and I was going to send it out, but I ended up having to do some work stuff and couldn't get it out. And by the time I got back to a computer, it had already sold. It was a 32 back B Imperial Hoth Stormtrooper unpunched AFA 85, 85, 85, 80 were the subscores. And you can see that the body of the Hoth Snowtrooper had yellowed, and it also had a weird black mark on the body. You can see that little black mark. The two black marks to the left on your screen are, paint applications, but there's a black smudge on the front of the body as well. So kind of a weird item. You don't usually see them yellow that much. It could be like the hard torso variant, or it could be maybe a Spanish PBP figure inside, which does tend to yellow. But I just thought it was kind of an interesting one. It was listed at $750 and it did sell very quickly. AFA 85 overall. Is it really a figure subscore of an 80 with that yellowing to the torso? I would probably argue it's more like a 75. But it is what it is. I mean, I didn't look up when this one was graded. It looks like a fairly early certification number, so probably has yellowed since grading. But I did think it was an interesting one. Early ESB card back. Not the debut, but certainly a beautiful item. Listed at $750. It felt about right in terms of price, and it did sell at $750 very quickly. Next up at auction was a yellowed 80 for the transition card 48 back Return of the Jedi Snaggletooth. So you can see the yellowing to the blister there, unpunched, no price sticker, but it is a hard to find transition 48 back. And 80, 80, 85 were the subscores on that one. And that one did sell in an auction at $455. Seems a little high to me, but maybe not, just given how difficult it is to find certain characters on this card back. I did not look it up on the census to see how many of these have been graded. I mean, some of them, especially when you get into the higher grades, it's sub 10 that have ever been graded, period, for some characters like Yoda and things like that. So I can understand the appeal, and I'm not going to dog anybody for spending that, but I thought given the yellowing to the blister, I thought maybe there was a chance it would stay in the threes, but it did sell at $455. This was an ungraded Biker Scout on the 65 back with the Anakin offer. It was a clear-ish blister. My only pause on it was now looking at it after the fact, you can kind of see that the blister's starting to peel off just a little bit around the edges there, but it still looks like a legitimately sealed mint-on-card Biker Scout with either light yellowing or no yellowing at all to the blister. And I was like, well, maybe this is a made in Mexico, and it just has the sticker over top with the Anakin offer, and that sticker on the back does say figures made in Hong Kong, but sometimes they do put those stickers on made in Mexico figures. It's possible. I can't tell. To me, it doesn't look like kind of the matte finish that you're used to with the made in Mexicos. It looks like a U.S. Kenner card to me, and it is a 65 back, which some 65 backs do tend to stay clear blister. So my gut says it's probably just a standard U.S. release card back for the Biker Scout. $222.50, pretty decent price, I think, for what that is. That's not a bad deal. It's probably a 75 plus grade overall. Next up was an AFA 85 clear blister for the 77 back A C3PO removable limbs. That one sold at $465, probably about right given that it's still clear blister and also high grade. It was a punched example, but no price sticker and still very much a clear blister, which is always tough to find on those 77 backs. But that C3PO removable limbs did sell at $465, pretty healthy price point. But now we're going to dig in to the AFA collectible investment brokerage items. They obviously have auctions, not every week, but almost every week. And they had some beautiful items this week, as I covered in a what to buy video. I didn't show many of them because honestly, by the time I made the video, most of the prices were well above where I would feel comfortable paying them. And the final sales prices on most of these were significant. So this one was a 12B R2D2 made in Taiwan, the made in Taiwan variant. AFA yellowed 85, so it did have a yellowed blister, punched example. That one still sold at $12.75, which, you know, to me, I think for a yellowed blister, I would be hard pressed to pay that. But it is an 85 grade, and it also is the harder to find made in Taiwan figure COO. So I can understand it. It wouldn't be a price I'd pay just because of the yellowing to the blister, but that one, it's probably pretty low on the census pop for AFA 85s made in Taiwan, even with the yellowing to the blister. This was an AFA 80 plus 12B Stormtrooper. Again, a punched example. You can see some light rippling to the blister there and at the very top of the blister. But you'll have to excuse me. I got a dry throat here. The pollen in Nashville is killing me. Good Lord. AFA 80 plus archival case, punched example for the Stormtrooper. Stormtroopers still look nice and white. Maybe a slight color difference between the limbs and the torso. $14.54 on that one. That one feels about right to me. That's not an overpay at all. This one I was really curious to see where it would sell. And quite honestly, this number is pretty good. It's a pretty good number for the Takara alternate head sculpt. You can see there, it's got kind of that longer chin, longer neck head sculpt. So this one was made in Japan in the Takara factory. It did not have the Takara import sticker on the front, kind of the tannish sticker, large rectangle that goes at the bottom of the front of the card back. It was also an AFA 90, straight 90s for the subscore. Quite honestly, I'm really surprised this one didn't go higher. 2051 on this one. I would imagine that this is probably the highest on the population report. Again, I didn't look it up, but this is a very nice item, and I was thinking $2,500 to maybe even as high as $3,000 for this. Loose graded Takara head sculpt C3POs can go for $1,000 all day long in an AFA 85 or higher. So I was thinking, well, for a loose graded, I was thinking $1,000, $1,200 is where they typically go. Maybe if you get lucky, you get them in that $800 to $900 range for an AFA 85 loose graded. So for a mint on card AFA 90, I was thinking $2,500 minimum for this one, and it stayed at $2,051. So I actually thought that was a really good deal. Again, not something I would buy personally, but for those that collect high grade mint on card early card backs, it's hard to beat that. I mean, that's a really, really good deal to me. Next up was a 75 grade 20 back A Princess Leia. 80, 75, 80 were the sub scores on that one. You can see the big ding in the upper right-hand corner of the blister. That's what held the score back. Overall, 75 grade, 1125 on that one. Again, a very fair number for what that is. You can see these sell at that price all day long, ungraded. So to get a 75 grade for 1125, I thought that was a very fair price, if not even a little bit low. On to the tri-logos, and this is where things get interesting because the prices were really shocking to me for most of these. This is one I do have. I have this exact item in this exact grade. This is the German Parker Hoth Rebel Commander. You can tell it's the German Parker because it's got that longer, thinner hang tab, and it's got a brighter yellow back. So this was made in the German Parker factory, AFA 85. This is exactly the score I have for mine, although I think I have an 85 for the figure score, not a 90. I paid for mine, admittedly, probably about 5 years ago. I paid about $214 for mine. This one sold at $697. That is a big, big number for, you know, a lesser character, admittedly in high grade, but I was shocked by that final sales price. Next up was an unpunched unpunched Sand People Tuscan Raider, and AFA 85 on this one. For reference, last year I bought an AFA 80 for the Tuscan Raider, and I paid about $430, $450, somewhere in that ballpark. This AFA 85 was unpunched and sold for $1136. So you're getting on almost 2.5 times, almost 3 times what I paid for my AFA 80. Absolutely massive number on that one. The AFA 85 Obi-Wan Kenobi tri-logo. This one had the saber outside of his hand. Beautiful example. White hair on this one. Probably a no COO figure is my guess. And that one sold for $1166. Again, just a massive, massive number. But, I mean, you got to believe that at some point there's going to be capitulation in the market where they just can't take it anymore. But it just has not happened yet. And the prices continue to be really, really shocking. This one was the Luke X-Wing AFA 85. You can see a little bit of mold on the foot and the leg there. So that whole leg there was covered in mold. And, you know, this figure score is no longer applicable. It's got a 90 for the figure score. That's really more like a 75 figure score because of that mold on the leg. And someone asked me before this auction ended, when it was around $600, they asked me where I thought it would end. And I said it would be $1,200. And I did not see the mold on that leg. So he did not buy it. But, you know, he was like, wow, you were pretty spot on. It finished at $1,221. Which I would argue that that's probably about the going rate for an AFA 85, just based on some of these other sales prices. The Luke X-Wing is a tough one to get on the Tri-Logo card back. But again, you got to be really careful when you're buying these items, because a lot of these that they're selling are items that have been graded a long time ago. And this is clearly one of them, given the mold to that leg. And again, I did not see that. I was just kind of casually looking on my phone when he sent it to me. But you got to really zoom in on these photos and make sure you know what you're buying. But $1,221 is not a number I would pay for what this particular item is. I was thinking more like $600 or $700, which is where it was before the auction was ending, with maybe 5 or 6 hours to go. But $1,221 was the final winning bid. Here was a beautiful unpunched Han and Carbonite, $1,436 on this one. What I've noticed is that, especially for the last 17, and where the last 17 are unpunched and they don't have that £1.59 factory applied sticker, they tend to get big boy money, and this is definitely one of them. AFA 85 unpunched, beautiful crystal clear blister, $1,436. It's a big number. It's, again, not a number I'd pay. You know, I think all else being equal, if CIB was not the seller and they were taking maybe not as quite a nice photos of these, I could see this going $1,100-$1,200, somewhere in that ballpark. But CIB does get premiums. It's just a fact. I mean, they ship worldwide, and they know that they're a trusted seller. And so people in Europe or elsewhere who are big dollar people, they don't care about paying $1,100 versus $1,436. They absolutely do not care. And then they know they're going to get the item just as it's shown. So, you know, it does attract a certain type of buyer that maybe does not look on eBay regularly and does not trust shipping to Abu Dhabi. If it's an oil baron, they know they're going to get their item from CIB, and so they really bid them up. And here was, again, that £1.59 price sticker that I'm talking about. These were applied in the factory. This is the R2-D2 pop-up lightsaber, and it was an unpunched example, AFA 85, that sold at $1,575. I'm just guessing, and let me know in the comments while you're leaving me a like if you disagree with this, but let's say this one was all else equal, except it didn't have that £1.59 sticker. I bet you would get probably another 25% more. I bet it would sell closer to $2,000 pretty easily. But there's very discerning buyers. They want unpunched, they want AFA 85s, and they don't want that sticker, and they're not going to pay up for it. So that's a beautiful item. That's a number I'd pay personally for this particular item. That was a beautiful R2-D2 pop-up lightsaber. Next up, this is another one where I don't understand the final sales price. I'm imagining that because this one has the YIPS or the YPS label on there, that there's a lower census population because of that YIPS label there, that it shows up as one of one or one of three on the census. And when people looked at it, they're, oh my gosh, I've got to have it. I've got to have it because it's got that special COO Stormtrooper inside. And it's sold at $1,742. Again, this to me is probably more like max $1,000 item, maybe $1,200 top end. That seems like a drastic overpay to me, but you know, I get it. You know, if you got the money and you don't care, then just bid it up. Another one that really went way higher than I was expecting. This was an AFA 85 Brown Snake Yoda that sold at $2,550. Now I have an unpunched Brown Snake Tri-Logo Yoda that I bought ungraded for $350. It came back from CAS, an 80 grade. It's a legitimate 80 grade. I think that if I had sent it into AFA, it would have also gotten an 80 grade. But, you know, again, I paid $350 plus the cost of grading. Let's call it worst case $500 I've got in it. And that was not long ago. That was about a year and a half ago that I found that one. So, and I found it on eBay. You know, I found it on eBay for $350. So I'm not paying $2,550. I'm not going to do it. It's a beautiful item, don't get me wrong, but $2,550 is getting up there. This is actually one where I think the price was very fair, believe it or not. $4,050 for a Luke Hoth Tri-Logo. This one also did have the smaller French Meccano blister that is still clear, by the way. And I saw one of these sell last year ungraded, admittedly in really good condition, easily an 80 grade, not an 85 for sure. This one was an 85, and it sold for $3,800 ungraded on Facebook. So, you know, to me, this one is worth every penny of $4,050. That's my personal opinion on it. But the Luke Hoth is one of the most rare Tri-Logos for maybe the more standard characters. And it's just a very, very difficult one to track down. It goes for many thousands of dollars, even ungraded. And you're getting an AFA 85 with 290 subscores, archival case, and it's got the French Meccano blister, which is a little bit tougher to find. That's a good buy. That's a really good buy. Again, this is not something that I would buy, but only because I don't have unlimited funds. If I did have unlimited funds, or if I was a multi-millionaire, I would have no trouble dropping 40, 50 on that. I thought that was a good deal. Here is a yak face. I was curious to see where this one would end it because this one is very similar to mine. It has the smaller French Meccano blister. It also is yellowed like mine. And it's an AFA 85 with the Palace blaster packed inside. Mine doesn't have any weapon inside. This one is unpunched just like mine. And, you know, mine's an AFA 80. This one's an AFA 85. I bought mine last year. Admittedly, it's an AFA 80. I paid about $2,550 for mine. This one's an AFA 85 and it sold for $4,300. Just given where we've seen clear blister yak faces go, that's probably about right, I would say. But that was an interesting sale and makes me feel pretty good about my purchase. I think that, you know, realistically, I feel like my purchase was probably a little low. It was a kind of a steal of a deal at $2,500. But this one was a beauty, and it did sell at $4,300. Finally was an AFA 75 Luke Stormtrooper disguise on the Power of the Force card. Unpunched, no price sticker. Fairly moderate yellowing to the blister, but certainly a beauty. For a 75 grade, that one sold at $1,300. We've certainly seen other examples in the same grade go for less. Not much more. To me, a 75 grade, I probably personally wouldn't pay more than about $1,000 for it. That's my, again, a personal opinion on it. But that one did sell at $1,300. And I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales. Some big prices in this auction lot. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.